Beginning, the voice in the wreckage. The ship was silent except for the faint hiss of pressurized air leaking from the fractured hull. Commander Ethan Rowe sat among the ruins of the Odyssey, clutching a cracked oxygen mask. He wasn't sure how long he'd been conscious, only that the stars outside the shattered viewport looked strangely close, almost too close. He muttered to himself, mostly to stay sane. "Great job, Ethan. First contact mission, and you crashed the damn ship before you even meet anyone." His voice echoed dully in the empty cabin. No response, no crew. Everyone else was gone. He closed his eyes and tried not to think about the endless void stretching outside. The Odyssey had gone down on an uncharted planet somewhere in the Lira system. Atmospheric readings had shown oxygen, mild radiation, and signs of life, but the crash erased the rest of the data. He sighed. "Well, I guess talking to myself is better than going crazy." "Maybe not," a soft voice replied. Ethan's eyes snapped open. He froze. The voice hadn't come from the ship's comms. It hadn't come from his helmet. It had come from behind him. He turned slowly. Standing at the edge of the dimly lit corridor was a figure, tall, slender, and cloaked in silver. Her skin shimmered faintly, not metallic, but iridescent like moonlight dancing on water. Her eyes were deep violet, and her expression calm. "Who come?" Ethan's breath caught. Who are you?" The woman tilted her head. "You were speaking to yourself. But your words called to me." He frowned. "Called to you? I didn't even wait. You speak English." She smiled faintly. "I speak thought. Language is merely shape." Ethan blinked. His pulse quickened. "You heard my thoughts." She nodded. "All of them." Middle, the stranger who knew too much. Over the next few hours, Ethan tried to make sense of it. He followed her outside the wreckage and onto the alien landscape. Vast plains covered in luminous moss that glowed beneath a sky of 3 moons. The air shimmered faintly, and every sound carried an echo, as if the planet itself were alive. She moved gracefully, each step silent, her silver cloak flowing behind her. "So, what should I call you?" Ethan asked as they walked. She turned her head slightly. "Names are not things we use. But you may call me Lira." "Lira," he repeated. "All right. Lira, can you tell me where I am?" She gestured toward the horizon. "You are on Ethera, my world." He looked out, still dazed. "And you live here alone." Lyra's violet eyes flickered with something like sadness. "Not always. My kind once filled these skies. But silence came to us, as it has come to you." Ethan frowned. "Silence. The end of voices," she said. "The quiet after the last song." He didn't fully understand, but he could feel the weight in her tone. It wasn't just poetic, it was grief. She had lost something. Maybe everything. They reached a ridge overlooking a valley filled with crystal spires. Each glowed from within, pulsing like heartbeats. Ethan was mesmerized. "What is this place?" "Our memories," Lira said softly. "Every crystal holds the echoes of one who lived before. Their essence, their thoughts, their love, all preserved." Ethan stepped closer. "So this is your people's way of remembering." She nodded. "When the body fades, the thought remains. But the thoughts can only be awakened by a voice not of this world." Ethan turned to her. "You mean me? You called across the stars without knowing," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "Your loneliness reached the silence. And I heard it." Ethan's chest tightened. He thought about how he'd been talking to himself, just trying to stay sane. But if she was right, somehow his thoughts had carried, through the wreckage, the void, and into her mind. "That's impossible," he said. She smiled. "And yet, here we are." The connection deepens. Days passed. Ethan scavenged what he could from the wreck, setting up a small camp near the Crystal Valley. Lira visited often, sometimes sitting in silence, sometimes speaking in riddles that seemed to reach into his thoughts. He started to realize she wasn't just reading his words, she was feeling them. Every flicker of fear, every flicker of longing. When he missed Earth, she'd quietly shape the glowing moss into images of mountains and oceans. When he felt pain, the air around him would shimmer with warmth until it faded. One night, as the largest moon rose, Ethan sat beside her near the crystals. "I keep thinking about my crew," he said quietly. "They're gone, and I can't do anything about it." Lira turned to him. "You still hold them. Their echoes are within you." He chuckled bitterly. "Echoes don't bring people back." "No," she said softly, "but they keep them from fading." He looked at her for a long moment. The way her eyes reflected the starlight, the way her voice carried calm even in grief, it was unlike anything he'd ever known. "You don't just hear my thoughts," he said. "You feel them." "Yes," she said. "It is how we know truth. Thought cannot lie." He exhaled. "Then you know I don't belong here." "I know you believe that," she replied. "But the stars rarely make mistakes in who they bring together." Her words lingered in his mind long after she disappeared into the night. Middle climax. The heart of Ethera. Weeks later, the planet began to change. The glowing moss dimmed, the skies grew dark, and tremors shook the ground. Ethan raced to find Lira near the Crystal Valley, only to see several spires beginning to crack. "What's happening?" he shouted. Lira looked up, her calm finally broken. "The memories are fading. The last echoes are dying." He watched as one of the crystals shattered, releasing a brilliant light that scattered into the air like fireflies. "Can't we stop it?" he asked. "Only if the song is completed," she said. "But I cannot sing it alone." "Song? What song?" She looked at him with pleading eyes. "The song of thought. You call to me through your mind, you can reach them too. Together we can awaken what remains." Ethan hesitated. I don't know how." She took his hands, her touch electric. "You already do. Just think. Feel." He closed his eyes. He focused on her, on everything he'd seen since the crash. Her voice, her pain, her strength, her loneliness. The soundless void of Ethera filled with something else. A hum, faint but rising. The crystals began to vibrate. Ethan gasped. "It's working." Lyra's voice joined his thoughts, flowing into them like light. "Don't stop. Give them your heart, Ethan Rowe." The valley exploded with color. Thousands of lights burst from the spires, swirling around them in waves of brilliance. Ethan could hear faint whispers, laughter, songs, voices overlapping like a choir made of memories. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "They're awake." But then she faltered, clutching her chest. The glow around her began to fade. "Lira!" Ethan shouted. "What's happening?" She smiled weakly. "I am one of them, Ethan. The last memory given form. You awakened me, but I was never meant to stay." "No," he said, holding her tighter. "You're real. You're here." Her gaze softened. "You gave me more life than I ever had. That is enough." Ending. The echo that remained. When Ethan woke, the valley was still. The crystals pulsed faintly again, restored. But Lira was gone. Only her silver cloak remained, folded neatly where she had stood. He sat there for hours, staring into the light of the spires. He could feel her presence, not in body but in thought. Every now and then when he spoke aloud, the faint echo of her voice answered back inside his mind.